Hello, Libra. Welcome to your March 2023 astrology forecast. Now, actually, I'm excited for Libra. Librans and Arians, I am very excited because Pluto, is coming into either the fifth house. For Aries, it's the 11th, but for you, it's the fifth house. And I actually think this has the potential to be a very exciting transit. Now, let me backtrack. First of all, sorry I'm so late with these. I really wanted to give a little bit of extra time with these because it is such a huge month. March has been a month that astrologers have been thinking about and talking about for a really long time. And here it is. We have Pluto coming into Aquarius, which is the first time it has changed signs since 2008. We have Saturn moving into Pisces as well. And we also have Mars moving into Cancer, right? It's coming out of Gemini where it has been since August and it's in a retrograde here and everything. So it is finally time for Mars to move on. But first, let's talk about Pluto because yes, I am excited for my Librans because I think Pluto through the fourth has been a really, really deep transit. I think all the air signs, right? Because they have the Capricorn in either the fourth house, eighth house, or 12th house. All the air signs went through this incredibly deep soul cleansing process. There was a lot of child work, a lot of inner child healing, a lot of psychoanalysis, a lot of therapy, a lot of spiritual growth, a lot of learning, a lot of forgiveness and compassion toward your parents, a lot of going back in the past and past life regressions and all sorts of stuff. And it's been a lot, and I think Libra is now ready to leave that behind. And I can tell, like I'm talking to a lot of my Librans and they're like, can we please just close this chapter already, please? I mean, it's hard enough to have Pluto in Capricorn, period. But to have it in one of the moksha houses, 4, 8, and 12, is especially challenging, even the sixth house as well. But it is especially challenging. Fourth, moksha, by the way, means freedom. These are the houses where we find freedom, but we have to go through the process. And Pluto's not going to let you do it any other way. You have to go through the process. So you had to heal by going really, really, really deep, okay? Fourth house finds freedom through healing. Eighth house finds freedom through change. And 12th house finds freedom through surrender, okay? Or loss, if you will. But enough of the healing, right? You just want to enjoy the freedom now. So when Pluto comes into the fifth, now, there's going to be downsides to this too, but I'm really optimistic for my Librans because it feels like fun. Because Pluto brings a ton of desire. It brings a ton of passion, and it brings a lot of like obsessive qualities. So in the way that you have been obsessing about your healing and your spiritual growth, and the way that you have been obsessing about learning about who you are and all this type of stuff and why you became the way you became, that obsessive nature is now going to transition into your creative endeavors. And the reason why this is so great is like a lot of money and growth and love and connection and happiness can come through when we are being creative. And we can grow businesses here, but it's fun, you know? And I think especially with Saturn over the past couple of years being in your fifth house, there's been a blockage in the fun department. It's like, let's take dating, for example. Like, yeah, we could go out and date, but my standard is like way up here and I don't really think anyone's going to meet that standard. You know, maybe there was a little pessimism around dating. Maybe you were a little bit blocked creatively. You're trying to write a book and it's just the words, you could not find the freaking words, whatever the case was. All that energy is released now, and where there was a blockage, now there is like this like intense desire to do it. And I do feel an unstoppability that Libra has just been craving, because it's hard enough with freaking Neptune over here in the 6th house, making it really hard to find stability and consistency in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day habits. It's hard enough. And so Pluto, I think, is going to help at least with the determination factor. You have a goal and you want to create something and you want to make something happen and you want to put yourself out there and you want to express yourself sexually and you want to do all these things, but it's been so restricted lately. And now Pluto comes in is like, I don't care. This is happening. Pluto comes from a place that we can't really control. It's like our truest self forces its way to the top, forces its way out into the world, and there's really not a lot we can do about it. Like in the same way that, you were going through your healing process. Now, also, I wanted to note, a lot of Librans with Pluto in the 4th may have really struggled to find and establish like a real home environment. To find a place that you really would love to be, a place that feels like home, or establishing permanent roots. If that resonates with you, chances are when Pluto comes into the 5th, now it's going to go back and forth between the 5th and 4th houses a couple of times over the next couple of years. But once it officially establishes itself in the 5th house at the end of 2024, chances are, if you truly are determined to like find a permanent place to be, chances are it'll be much, much, much easier to find. Like I know since 2008 when Pluto came into Capricorn, I moved like every year almost. There was no sense of home at all. It was hard to find, hard to create. But Pluto in the 5th puts the attention in a completely different area. And so finding that home and that security in that, home environment it's going to be much easier to find or to create. Okay. So now we focus on creative efforts and it is more fun. Now, the dark side of that is the fear of expression. So yes, you're going to have this intense desire to do it, but are you going to share it? Are you going to let the world know? Are you really going to put it out there? Or are there going to be these feelings like being petrified of like what other people think, of standing out, of being one of a kind, of being so unique and going against the grain and being, one to challenge the status quo? If you're too afraid, you're going to have to battle that fear. But at least you're going to be creating. At least. I think that's something for Libra for sure. Now, we also have, actually, let's talk about Mars coming into Cancer real quick. Now, again, we're going to have more to say about this next month. This Mars does not transition until March 25th. So it's like the end of the month, but still it is happening nonetheless. And it is coming over this 10th house cusp as well. And this particular transition, I think it's a lot of the stuff that you've acquired since August with this Mars retrograde here, a lot of the stuff that you've set in motion, it does feel like you're going to be settling in on something to really like put to good use. And you're going to have the power and the desire and the intensity to actually execute on those things. Now, being moon ruled, Cancer is moon ruled, there might still be a lot of fluctuation. Mars in a moon ruled sign is kind of a strange place to be because the moon is not stable. So we have an unstable, volatile planet like Mars coming into an unstable sign like Cancer, right? When we think of the moon, right, it's always waxing and waning and it's going up and down and, it moves really, really fast. So there's not a lot of like rootedness here in Cancer. 4th house, yes, totally different. 4th house is different from Cancer. And I know in modern astrology, we like to link signs with houses, but I'm kind of learning a little bit more traditional style where we shouldn't maybe really be doing that. Okay. The archetype of Cancer is not necessarily directly linked with the significations of the 4th house. Okay. So the fluctuating nature of Cancer with the power and aggression of Mars might be a little hard to find the path, but if you have a vision, I think this could actually be very fluid, and it can be a way of manifestation that doesn't feel like you're exerting a huge amount of effort. That is being coupled with Saturn now in the 6th house. Now, let me tell you why I actually really like Saturn in the 6th, and then I'll tell you why I don't like it. I like it because Libra needs structure. Okay, Neptune in the 6th, Pisces in the 6th. I mean, like, let's just call a spade a spade. Libra, is your favorite thing in life keeping a schedule? Is that really your favorite thing? Do you really enjoy being locked into a way of life? You know, I would probably say you really like freedom in your daily life. You like to do things when you want to do them. And while, yes, you absolutely enjoy, I don't know, maybe you do enjoy like housework. I know I love to do the dishes. You know, I'm a Libra rising. I love to do dishes. I don't mind doing laundry. I like making my bed. Like, I like doing those types of things. So yeah, maybe you take some pleasure in that. Not only is your 6th house ruled by Jupiter, but we also have, you know, Venus exalted in Pisces as well. So Pisces really does bring out a ton of pleasure, okay? So maybe you do enjoy those things. You enjoy the more domestic aspects of life, but you also don't really like being locked in because Pisces is very much about freedom. But maybe not being locked into something and not having a structure has potentially been detrimental for your success. You know that you'll get around to doing something when it's time to do it. You know, this right here, Pisces in the 6th, by the way, is one of the reasons why Libra is known as a procrastinator. I know how much you love to sleep. I know how much you love your comfy bed. I get it. Okay? I do get it. Pisces in the 6th. It enjoys the pleasurable aspects of domestic life and mundane and everyday life. It enjoys the pleasure of the routine, but it doesn't necessarily have the structure of the routine. Okay? So it's kind of weird there. You may go through spurts of being really together and then not together at all. Okay? It's very inconsistent. But Saturn comes and it's like, Libra, we need consistency. If you want to build the things that you want to build, you have to be disciplined. And Saturn is going to provide Saturn's not providing it. It's bringing it out within you, that true desire to be disciplined. If you want your creative energies with Pluto in the 5th to be successful, you need to be disciplined with them. So here it is coming forward. Now, one of the reasons I don't like this is from the health component, okay? 6th house is a house of health. Saturn is a malefic planet. And yes, he can create some problems there, and it's probably been hard enough with Neptune there. Again, I'm not trying to project my own personal stuff. I'm not saying every Libra has stuff, but it is weird. Neptune makes things weird, you know, and, you know, Scorpio is going to go through it next, you know, when Neptune comes into Aries, and I'll have to have that talk with them when Neptune comes into Aries in their 6th house. And it's just like, look, your health might be difficult to really understand or to pay attention to, or maybe it's not a top priority or whatever. But Saturn is absolutely going to make it a priority. Adding the discipline and the good habits and the self-mastery, health and nutrition and exercise is a massive component of that. I will tell you, Libra, that your material, career, professional, and romantic successes are truly dependent on your ability to be healthy enough to actually do them. If you want a healthy career, you have to bring the energy into it. And in order to bring the energy into it, your physical vessel needs to be super top shape. So, you know, this is what it's good and bad. I think mostly it will be good for you, Libra, on an individual level, but there are things you have to be concerned about. If you do have health problems, I highly recommend getting the blood work done, going in to see the people, whoever, whether you're working with allopathic medicine or natural medicine, it doesn't really matter where you are there. But I do suspect your awareness and staying on top of it, like go to the dentist, go to the eye doctor, right? Not only don't do the blood work, but like get everything checked out, everything worked on, just so you know where you're at, so you can gauge what's going on, so that you can monitor and really determine where the fluctuations are, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about this Jupiter Chiron thing. Now, Jupiter and Chiron, all through February, Jupiter was coming up on to Chiron. And now I have the clock set for March 15th here. We can see that Jupiter is now separating off of Chiron, meaning it's moving away from Chiron. Now that particular conjunction in the 7th house probably spoke to you a lot about relationships. So if you're in a relationship, you probably had to learn something surfaced, something came out, something from your childhood, some wound or trauma or inner child, what have you, had to come out so that you would be able to establish a healthier relationship. Okay? The whole point of Jupiter exposing the pain of Chiron is so that we can heal from it and move on. Look, I just want you guys to know, like, it's okay sometimes, like, especially with Pluto through the 4th house, there's so much work that's done, and I know Libra is getting really fatigued. And it's okay sometimes to just want to move on. You don't always have to like figure out the origin point of something. It's okay to work in the realm of symptoms once in a while. And I think Libra right now is just like, you know what? I do feel ready for a relationship, or I do feel ready for a deeper commitment. I feel ready to get married. I feel ready to integrate someone else into my life. And even though I'm not perfect and no, I'm not entirely perfectly healed, I feel ready for that. And Jupiter, I think, has put a really powerful desire to be with someone. And I do think many Libras, whether you're in a relationship or not, you've just been in a really autonomous place. You've been in a highly self-reliant place. Regardless of relationship status, we know Libra can take care of themselves. We know you can do what you need to do to survive, right? South Node in the 2nd house. That comes easily for Libra a lot of times. I know Libra somehow has this there's a lot of stereotypes that I'm like now, like as I'm learning more about traditional astrology, I'm like, some of this does not make sense what we talk about in modern astrology. Libra is very good at being on their own, but somehow it got associated with like, oh, Libras are always wanting to be in relationships all the time. And I'm like, I don't necessarily see that in real life. A lot of the Libras in my life, they go for long periods of time and they may date here and there. But when it comes to a meaningful, committed relationship, like it takes time for that to develop for a lot of Librans. Not every Libran, okay? It depends on your moon placement and your ascendant and your sun and your Venus and everything. But generally speaking, you're a powerful sign and you work well on your own just as well as you work with someone as well. So Jupiter is adding to that desire. And now that, we kind of got a little shortchanged, I think, with this Jupiter transit, to have Chiron smack dab in the middle of the sign, we didn't get like a real full stretch of Jupiter. Well, we at least have 2 months ahead of us where Jupiter is not obstructed in any way, shape, or form. So Jupiter can really expand this Aryan energy here. It can, just really do what it needs to do. And I think Libra is defining what it is they're looking for in love and what they require from their existing partners, and they're redefining goals. And there is like this heart opening quality. Also, Pluto coming in the 5th has a lot to do with that. Pluto in the 4th can be really, really inside of itself. So 5th house is much more extroverted. Thank goodness. Okay, we need that extroversion once in a while. So that extroverted quality is really starting to come online, and Jupiter is adding to that as well. Now, Venus, I've been saying this, this Venus North Node conjunction. This is like the least noticeable thing going on, okay? But it's an important thing to talk about because it's going to show up later in July. Venus comes in contact with the North Node, and this is how I'm describing it. There's like this conversation going on. North Node creates a lot of frustration sometimes. There's a massive amount of desire, but it's kind of weirdly, like there's a weird delusion around it sometimes. So to have this North Node in the 8th house, it has a lot to do with other people's money, the success of our partners. There's a lot around debt and shared resources and taxes. There's a lot of sexuality that comes through there as well. And anything in any of those areas, there may have been, like, let's use this for an example. Let's say a Libra that wants to get married to someone who has money. Now, I'm not saying gold digger. I'm not saying about that, but wanting to marry someone who has their life together, who is comfortable, who has resources, and who can take care of them. Let's just as an example, okay? Just go with me on this. So you have all this energy put into that thought. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. I want a spouse that has this, that has that. I want this, I want this, I want this. But that North Node is like, I don't care how much you want it. Just because you want it, I'm not going to give it to you. That's how the North Node works. But all that energy is still being directed at it, but it's not like really flowing very well. So it just kind of builds up. It's kind of like a backed up, clogged drain type of thing. So Venus comes in and like she's talking to the North Node and saying, okay, North Node, what is it that's like backed up? Like, what are the issues that we have? What are the manifestations? What are the requests? And she's just taking a list. And it's like a list for consideration. And the reason why she's the one taking this list is because this is her domicile. This is her sign of rulership. She's coming back home and she's in charge here. And she needs to take the information from her guests. She's got the North Node. She's got Uranus. So she has to collect all this information from her guests. As she continues her travels throughout the spring and on into summer, in the Northern Hemisphere anyway, and she's going to make her way into Leo, which is where she's going to retrograde. Beginning of Leo season, end of July through August and in through September. July is when the North Node moves into Aries. So all of the stuff that Libra has been thinking about and wanting and requesting really since the end of 2021, specifically regarding money and resources, other people's money, your own money, all that kind of stuff, your lifestyle, all of it. Now that block gets removed and those things can really start to funnel through. One thing I am noticing about the North Node is that we don't see the effects of that until the node leaves. When the node is there in that domicile, he creates all sorts of issues and problems and difficulties and whatever. But the reason why he's important is because that's where we tend to put a lot of focus. And that focus is what inherently changes us to becoming that type of person. But when he leaves, that's when actual opportunities start to present themselves. Okay? And then you're going to really be starting to put more and more emphasis on partnerships with that North Node in the 7th house while still maintaining your autonomy. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm just preparing you with this is what Venus is doing behind the scenes. With all this other stuff going on, Venus is still doing something, and she's doing it on the DL, super sneaky. In July and through August and September, you're going to really start to see what I'm talking about. Okay, because when she retrogrades here in Leo, she's going to be releasing all of that stuff. So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, Jupiter is going to be in Taurus by that time. He comes in May, and he's going to be accentuating all of that stuff as well. So your 8th house themes: intimacy, connection, shared resources, tantric sex, death, rebirth, transformation. All the 8th house themes are going to be very prominent for Libra. And again, this is changing who you are. And the discipline that Saturn is offering is going to make it sustainable, right? It's not just like changing yourself for like a month. Oh, I'm going to establish a new habit and go really hard at it for a month and then only to revert back to your old ways. This is a big push astrologically right now to actually becoming the person that we have been trying to manifest for a very long time. So a lot of these little, things are connecting here, helping us to make that change. So it is very exciting. It's exciting, and there's a lot to look forward to, not without its challenges, of course, but there's a lot to look forward to. And again, Librans and Arians, I'm very excited with the 5th house and the 11th house Pluto, because these are the fun houses, and this is the time when a lot of really amazing things can start to happen. Okay? All right, Libra, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you so much. You guys know how much I love and adore you. Have an amazing month of March, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.